She texted me, still at my sister's place, don't wait up, but I was sitting just a few tables away. At the same restaurant, watching my wife laugh, hold hands, and kiss another man. I didn't say a word. I just replied with a photo of her table. But before I begin, please like and subscribe to the channel. And we'd love to hear which part of the world are you joining us from. Let us know. Now, let's dive into today's story. The overhead fluorescent lights at the Copper Fork Diner hummed with a frequency that made Caleb's teeth ache if he focused on it too long. He didn't focus on it. Instead, he watched condensation bead down the side of his water glass while the waitress, Paula, according to her name tag, disappeared into the kitchen with his takeout order. Meatloaf, mashed potatoes, extra gravy. His mother had called 3 times to make sure he remembered the gravy. As if he'd forget. As if 32 years of being her son hadn't taught him that gravy mattered more than the meat itself. The vinyl booth seat squeaked when he shifted his weight. Route 17 traffic rolled past the wide windows, headlights cutting through the early October darkness. Willow Bend wasn't the kind of place where things happened. People were born here, grew up here, married people they'd known since grade school, and eventually got buried in the cemetery behind First Baptist. The most exciting thing that had happened in the last 5 years was when the Walmart expanded its garden center. Caleb's phone buzzed against the laminate tabletop. Lindsay, still at my sister's. Don't wait up. He stared at the message. His thumb hovered over the keyboard, but he didn't type anything. Something fell off. Not the message itself. Lindsay went to her sister's place in Columbia at least twice a month. But the timing, the phrasing. Don't wait up implied she'd be late. But she usually said be home by 10 or should be back before you're asleep. Small things. The kind of things you notice when you've been married 11 years. Caleb looked up from his phone to stretch his neck, rolling his shoulders to work out the knot that formed every day around 3 in the afternoon from sitting at his desk reviewing insurance claims. That's when he saw her, 3 booths away, near the window overlooking the parking lot. Lindsay wore the blue cardigan he'd bought her last Christmas. Her hair was down, the way she only wore it when she wanted to look nice. And she was laughing, head tilted back, eyes bright, the kind of genuine laugh he hadn't heard from her in months. The man across from her wasn't from Willow Bend. Caleb knew most people in town, at least by sight. This guy looked like he sold something expensive. Neat beard, watch that caught the light, shirt that probably cost more than Caleb spent on clothes in 6 months. Lindsay's left hand rested on the table between them. No wedding ring. Her fingers traced a pattern on the man's wrist, casual and familiar, like she'd done it 100 times before. The man leaned in, said something that made her smile widen. She didn't pull back, didn't create distance. Her free hand came up to tuck hair behind her ear, the gesture she always made when she was nervous or flirting or both. Caleb felt his breathing slow. Not stop, just slow. Like his body was conserving energy for what came next. The thing about shock is that people expect it to feel explosive. They expect anger or tears or the urge to flip tables. What Caleb felt was simpler, colder. It was the sound of a door closing, not slamming, just closing, quiet and final, the way a door closes when you know you're never walking through it again. He raised his phone with steady hands, opened the camera, zoomed in just enough to capture her face, the man's profile, their hands touching on the table. The cardigan, the missing ring, the body language that told a story clearer than any confession. One photo, sharp and undeniable. He opened his messages and sent it to Lindsay. No caption, no question marks, no anger, just the truth, delivered at 7:43 p.m. on a Friday night in October. His phone stayed silent. Across the diner, Lindsay's phone, sitting on the table beside her water glass, lit up. She glanced at it. Her expression didn't change immediately. Then she picked it up, looked at the screen. Caleb watched the color drain from her face in real time. She said something to the man. Fast. Her hand pulled back from his wrist like she'd touched something hot. She stood, grabbing her purse, fumbling with her phone. The man looked confused, then concerned, then annoyed. Caleb turned back to his water glass, counted the beads of condensation running down the side. 12, 13, 14. Here you go, hon. Paula appeared with a paper bag, the the top stapled shut. That'll be $18.47. He handed her a 20. Keep it. You sure? Yeah. He took the bag and walked out through the front entrance, past the booth where Lindsay was gathering her things with shaking hands. She looked at him. He looked at the door, pushed through it into the parking lot where the October air smelled like fallen leaves and fryer grease. His truck was parked under the oak tree at the edge of the lot. He got in, set the food on the passenger seat, and drove the 10 minutes to his parents' house without turning on the radio. The thing he kept thinking about, and he knew it was strange, knew it was the kind of detail that didn't matter, was the ring. She'd taken it off. That meant planning. Forethought. It wasn't an impulsive moment. It was calculated. She'd stood in their bathroom, in the house they'd bought together 8 years ago, and she'd twisted the ring off her finger and slipped it into her purse or her pocket or wherever she kept the parts of herself she didn't want him to see. His mother met him at the door. Did you remember the gravy? Yeah, Mom. Good. Your father's been complaining about his blood pressure medication all afternoon. Maybe food will improve his mood. Caleb set the bag on their kitchen counter. The house smelled like the lemon cleaner his mother had used for as long as he could remember. Family photos covered the refrigerator. Him and his younger brother, Jamie, at various ages. His wedding photo. The kids. You all right? His mother asked. She had that look. The one mothers develop that sees through everything. Long week. Home. She started unpacking containers. Lindsay coming by. She's at her sister's. On a Friday night? That's what she said. His mother paused, a container of mashed potatoes in her hand. She looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. Well, tell her we said hello. Caleb stayed for dinner because leaving would raise questions he wasn't ready to answer. His father complained about his medication. His mother asked about the kids, Emma, who was 9, and Tyler, who was 7. Jamie called to cancel Sunday dinner because he'd picked up an extra shift at the warehouse. Normal. Everything felt aggressively normal while Caleb's phone stayed silent in his pocket. He drove home at 9:30. The house was dark. Lindsay's car wasn't in the driveway. Inside, he turned on exactly 3 lights. Living room, kitchen, hallway. He checked on the kids, both asleep. Emma with her face mashed into her pillow, Tyler sprawled diagonal across his mattress with his blankets on the floor. Then he went to the bedroom, opened his laptop, and created a new folder. Labeled it Documentation. Uploaded the photo. Started a timeline. Friday, October 14th, 7:43 p.m., Copper Fork Diner, Route 17. He wrote down everything he remembered. What she wore. The man's appearance. The missing ring. The body language. The look on her face when she saw the photo. At 11:17 p.m., he heard her car in the driveway. Caleb saved the document. Closed the laptop. Went downstairs. She came through the front door with red eyes and mascara tracks down her cheeks. Her hands shook when she set her purse on the entry table. Caleb, don't. His voice came out level. Calm. The kind of calm that lives in the center of hurricanes. It's not what you think. You were at the Copper Fork with a man I've never seen. Your ring was off. Your hand was on his arm. He leaned in. You let him. Caleb stood in the living room doorway, arms crossed. Which part am I thinking wrong? Fresh tears spilled down her face. I needed someone to talk to. You have a husband for that. You don't understand what it's like. Her voice cracked, climbed in pitch. I'm drowning, Caleb. This life, this town, your family needing things every single week. So you found someone in Colombia who makes you feel special. It's not like that. Then tell me what it's like. She opened her mouth, closed it, looked at the floor. When she spoke again, her voice was quieter, more careful. I made a mistake. How long? What? How long have you been seeing him? We're not. Lindsay, Caleb took one step forward. Just one. How long? She wrapped her arms around herself. 3 months. Maybe 4. But nothing physical happened. We just talk. He listens. For months. A third of a year. All those trips to her sister's place. All those late nights. All those times she'd come home and kiss the kids goodnight and climbed into bed next to him like everything was fine. I want a divorce, she said. The words hung in the air like smoke. Caleb felt his jaw tighten. That was fast. I've been thinking about it for a while. She wiped her face with the back of her hand. We're not happy, Caleb. You know we're not. I didn't know I wasn't happy until about 4 hours ago. Because you never pay attention. Her voice rose again. You're always dealing with your parents, or your brother, or work, or the kids. When's the last time you asked me what I needed? Last Tuesday. You said you wanted new throw pillows for the couch. That's not what I mean. Then say what you mean. She looked at him with something that might have been desperation or might have been calculation. He couldn't tell anymore. Maybe he never could. If we get divorced, she said slowly, I deserve to be taken care of. I gave up my career to raise our kids. I kept this house running. I deserve stability. There it was. Not, I'm sorry. Not, I want to work on us. Not even, I still love you. I deserve stability. The words landed with the weight of revelation. This wasn't about unhappiness. This wasn't about feeling unheard or overwhelmed or trapped by small-town life. This was about money, security, having her freedom, and keeping the safety net. Caleb felt something settle deep in his chest, something cold and permanent and absolutely certain. Go sleep in the guest room, he said. Caleb, guest room. Tonight. We'll figure out the rest tomorrow. She stared at him, waiting for anger or tears or begging. He gave her nothing, just stood there, immovable, until she grabbed her purse and walked upstairs. Caleb waited until he heard the guest room door close. Then he went back to his laptop, opened the documentation folder, added a new entry. Friday, October 14th, 11:17 p.m. I deserve stability. He worked until 2 in the morning, pulling up bank statements, mortgage documents, investment accounts. Everything they'd built together. Everything that would now be divided. But the more he looked, the more he remembered. 6 years ago, when they'd refinanced the house, Caleb had insisted on certain protections. His parents had lost everything in their divorce when he was 15, the house, the savings, even the family business. He'd watched his mother cry in a courthouse hallway while lawyers argued over who got the Christmas decorations. He'd sworn he'd never let that happen to him. So he'd structured things carefully. Separate accounts for certain assets. Protections built into the mortgage. Legal walls that seemed paranoid at the time, but necessary now. Lindsay had barely paid attention during those meetings. She'd scrolled through her phone while the lawyer explained terms and conditions. Signed where he pointed. Complained afterward that it took too long. Caleb had paid attention. He always paid attention. He saved the documents. Backed them up to 3 different locations. Sent copies to his personal email. Then he went upstairs, checked on the kids one more time, and lay down on top of his bedspread, fully clothed. Sleep didn't come. Instead, he stared at the ceiling fan, making slow rotations in the dark, and he thought about 11 years of marriage. Thought about the girl he'd met in college who laughed at his jokes and kissed him in the rain after their 3rd date. Thought about the woman who'd walked down the aisle toward him with flowers in her hair and promises on her lips. Thought about the stranger sleeping in his guest room who'd spent 4 months building an exit strategy while still sharing his bed. Truth doesn't rush, he thought, but it doesn't wait forever either. Somewhere around 4 in the morning, his phone buzzed. Lindsay, we need to talk about the kids. And money. I'm not trying to hurt you. I just need to be honest about what I need. Caleb read the message 3 times. Then he turned off his phone and finally, mercifully, fell asleep. The whispers started small. Caleb heard them at church first. Bethany Green, who taught Sunday school with Lindsay, pulled him aside after service. Is everything okay at home? Lindsay seemed off last week. We're working through some things, Caleb said. Well, if you need anything. Bethany squeezed his arm with the practiced sympathy of someone who thrived on other people's drama. Prayer can move mountains. By Tuesday, his mother called. Janet Pemberton said Lindsay told her you've been distant, that you're always prioritizing work over family. Caleb stood in his office, phone pressed to his ear, watching rain streak down the window. Is that what she said? I told Janet that sounded like nonsense. But Caleb, honey, if something's wrong, I'll handle it, Mom. Your father and I are here if you need to talk. I know. He hung up and added another entry to his documentation folder. Tuesday, October 18th. Lindsay establishing narrative. Caleb is distant, work-focused, prioritizes job and family over marriage. By Wednesday, Her sister called him directly. Nicole's voice dripped with rehearsed concern. Caleb, Lindsay's been staying with me the last few nights. She's really struggling. I'm aware. She says you won't even discuss counseling, that you've shut down completely. Did she mention why I might have shut down? Silence on the other end. Then, she said things have been hard for a while, that you don't understand what she's been going through. Did she tell you about the copper fork? More silence. Longer this time. I don't know what you're talking about, Nicole finally said, but her voice had changed, lost its certainty. Ask your sister about Friday night, about who she was with. Then call me back if you want to discuss counseling. He hung up before she could respond. The thing about Lindsay's narrative was that it required people not to ask questions, required them to take her pain at face value, to see her tears and assume she was the victim. She'd always been good at that, at making people want to protect her. But Caleb wasn't protecting her anymore. He was documenting, watching, waiting. Friday night arrived with the first real cold snap of autumn. Caleb picked up the kids from school, took them to McDonald's for dinner because he didn't feel like cooking, and let them stay up past bedtime watching a movie. Emma curled up next to him on the couch. Where's Mom? At Aunt Nicole's. Still? Yeah, sweetheart. Is she mad at us? Caleb felt his chest tighten. No, not at all. She's just dealing with some grown-up stuff. Tyler looked up from his spot on the floor, surrounded by action figures. Are you and Mom getting divorced? The word landed like a stone dropped in still water. Emma tensed against his side. Caleb muted the TV, looked at both his kids. We're figuring things out. But no matter what happens, your mom and I both love you. That doesn't change. Jackson's parents got divorced, Tyler said matter-of-factly. Now he has 2 Christmases. Tyler, Emma hissed. What? It's true. Caleb pulled Emma closer. Let's just take it one day at a time, okay? Saturday morning, he got a text from Lindsay's father. Bill, need to talk to you. Can you stop by the house this afternoon? Bill Patterson had been a contractor for 40 years. He'd built half the new houses in Willow Bend and had a reputation for being fair but tough. He'd always liked Caleb, treated him like the son he never had. Caleb drove over at 2. Bill was in his garage, organizing tools on a pegboard with the precision of a man who couldn't stand disorder. Beer? Bill asked. Sure. They sat on folding chairs in the garage while October wind scattered leaves across the driveway. Bill drank half his beer before speaking. Lindsay's mother wants me to stay out of this. Says it's between you and Lindsay. He set his beer down, looked at Caleb directly. But I've known you 12 years. You're not the kind of man who gives up on his family without cause. Caleb took a slow drink, considered his words carefully. I'm not giving up on my family, Bill. I'm protecting it. From what? From someone who made choices I can't accept. Bill nodded slowly. Is there anything we should know? This was the moment. The choice between protecting Lindsay's image or protecting the truth. Caleb pulled out his phone, opened the photos, handed it to Bill. The older man looked at the screen for a long time. His jaw worked. His knuckles went white around the phone. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough. 2 weeks ago, Friday night, at the Copper Fork. How long's it been going on? For months, maybe longer. Bill handed the phone back like it burned his hand. He stood up, paced to the driveway, and back. Does Claire know? Not unless Lindsay told her. She won't have. Bill shook his head. That girl. I raised her better than this. She's telling people I'm the problem, that I'm distant, that I don't understand her. Of course she is. Bill's voice turned bitter. She learned early that crying gets sympathy, and sympathy gets protection. Her mother enabled it. I tried to. He trailed off, rubbed his face with both hands. What do you need from me? Nothing. I just wanted you to know the truth. The money. She's worried about the money, isn't she? Caleb didn't answer. Didn't need to. Bill sat back down, finished his beer in silence. Then he said, My daughter made her choices. You make yours. But Caleb, those kids need their father to be smart about this. Not angry. Smart. I'm not angry. I know. That's what worries me. Bill met his eyes. Anger burns out. What you've got looks like it goes deeper. It does. They sat in the garage until the sun started setting. Before Caleb left, Bill gripped his shoulder. I'll talk to Claire. She deserves to know what's really happening. Sunday dinner at his parents' house was smaller without Jamie. Just Caleb, his mother, his father, and the kids. His mother made pot roast. Tyler spilled his milk. Emma helped clear dishes without being asked. His father pulled him aside while his mother was getting dessert. Your mother's worried. I know. Is Lindsay coming back? I don't think so. His father nodded. He'd been through his own divorce. Knew the signs. You need money for a lawyer? I'm okay. The offer stands. His father gripped his shoulder the same way Bill had. Take care of those kids. Always. Monday morning, Caleb's phone rang at 6:30. Bill's wife, Claire. I need to see you, she said. No preamble. No pleasantries. They met at a coffee shop in Columbia, halfway between their houses. Claire looked like she hadn't slept. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her hair pulled back in a hasty ponytail. She sat down across from him. Show me. Caleb hesitated. Bill didn't. He told me enough. I want to see it myself. He pulled up the photo. The messages. The timeline he'd been building. Claire looked at everything with a stillness that reminded him of Bill. When she finished, she handed back his phone and stared at her untouched coffee. I spent yesterday trying to convince myself Bill was wrong, she said quietly. That there had to be another explanation. That my daughter wouldn't. She stopped, swallowed hard. But he wasn't wrong, was he? No, ma'am. She's been calling me every day, crying about how you won't talk to her, how you're freezing her out, how she's scared about what happens next. Claire looked up. She never mentioned another man. She wouldn't. No, she wouldn't. Claire's voice hardened. Because she knows what I'd say. They sat in silence. The coffee shop filled with morning commuters grabbing drinks on their way to work. Normal people having normal Mondays. What are you going to do? Claire asked. Get divorced. Keep my kids. Move forward. And the house. The money. I'll handle it. Claire studied him. You're not going to make this easy for her. Should I? No. The word came out firm. Final. No, you shouldn't. She stood to leave, then paused. Caleb, I'm sorry. For what that's worth. You deserve better. So, did your grandchildren? Claire's face crumpled. She nodded once and walked out. That night, Lindsay called. Caleb answered on the fourth ring. We need to talk about money, she said. Okay. I'm going to need support. Child support, spousal support. I gave up my career. You worked at a dentist's office for 2 years before Emma was born. I gave up advancement opportunities. I could have, but you didn't. Caleb's voice stayed level. Even. You chose to stay home, which was fine. We agreed on it. But now you're choosing to leave. Those are different things. I deserve fair treatment. That word again. Deserve. Fair would be splitting everything 50-50, Caleb said. But that's not going to happen. What are you talking about? The refinancing we did 6 years ago. Remember that. Silence. You were on your phone the whole time, Caleb continued. Didn't read a word of what you signed. But I did. And certain assets are protected. The house is in my name alone. My retirement accounts are separate. The kids' college funds are untouchable. You can't do that. I already did. 6 years ago. You signed the papers. Her breathing changed. Got faster. You planned this. No. I planned for what my parents went through. Turns out that planning protects me from what we're going through now. You're trying to leave me with nothing. You'll get what's fair. But fair isn't half of everything. Fair is proportional to contribution. In the last 4 months, while you were building your exit strategy, I was paying every bill, handling every repair, taking care of our kids and my parents, and keeping this family running. I hate you. That's allowed. She hung up. Caleb added another entry to his documentation. Monday, October 24th, first money discussion. Lindsay, unaware of asset protections established in 2019 refinancing, reacted with anger when informed. Tuesday brought the first lawyer letter. Lindsay had hired someone from Columbia, someone expensive based on the letterhead. Caleb read it twice, then called an attorney his father had recommended. A woman named Patricia Wright who'd practiced family law for 30 years and had a reputation for being thorough and unmerciful. They met Wednesday afternoon. Patricia was 60, with silver hair and reading glasses on a chain. She read through Caleb's documentation folder for 40 minutes without speaking. Then she looked up. You're either the most organized client I've ever had or the most paranoid. Which one gets better results? She smiled. In family law, same thing. She tapped the screen. This timeline. This is good. The financial documents showing separate accounts and protected assets. Even better. The photo evidence. She paused. Her lawyer is going to argue this doesn't prove infidelity. It proves she lied about where she was. It proves she removed her wedding ring. It proves she was with another man while telling me she was at her sister's. True, but South Carolina is a no-fault state. Adultery matters less than you'd think for division of assets. What about custody? That's different. Pattern of deception, questionable judgment, prioritizing a relationship with another man over family stability. That matters. Patricia folded her hands. But Caleb, I need to be clear. Going for full custody is ugly. Are you prepared for that? I'm prepared to do what's best for my kids, even if it means dragging their mother through court. She dragged herself. I'm just documenting the path. Patricia studied him for a long moment. All right then, let's get started. The next 2 weeks moved like water wearing down stone. Slow. Inevitable. Lindsay moved in with Nicole permanently. Started posting on social media about finding herself and choosing happiness. Photos of sunset walks and coffee cups with inspirational quotes. Her friends liked every post. Left comments about strength and courage. Caleb didn't respond. Didn't comment. Just took screenshots and added them to the folder. At school, Emma's teacher pulled him aside. Emma's been quieter lately. Is everything okay at home? Her mother and I are separating. Oh, the teacher's face shifted. That explains it. She asked me the other day if kids can choose which parent they live with. What did you tell her? That those decisions are made by parents and sometimes courts. That her job is just to be a kid. She hesitated. She said she wants to stay with you. That her mom's too busy with her new friend. Caleb felt something crack in his chest. Thank you for telling me. That night, he sat both kids down. I need you to understand something. Your mom loves you. Even when grown-ups make mistakes or make bad choices, that doesn't mean they stop loving their kids. Emma looked at him with eyes too old for 9. But she left us. She left me. Not you. Then why doesn't she call more? Tyler kicked his feet against the couch. Jackson's mom calls him every day since the divorce. Caleb pulled them both close. Your mom's figuring things out. It's messy and it's hard and it's not fair to you. But you're going to get through this. We all are. Together? Emma asked. You and me and Tyler? Always together. November came in cold and gray. Thanksgiving loomed like a deadline. Lindsay sent a text asking about custody arrangements for the holiday. Caleb showed it to Patricia. Tell her you'll have the kids for Thanksgiving. She can have them for a few hours on Friday if she wants. That's reasonable. More than. You've had primary custody since she moved out. She hasn't pushed for formal visitation. A judge would see that as voluntary abandonment of parental responsibility. Caleb sent the message. Lindsay responded with a paragraph about how he was being controlling and punishing her for being honest about her feelings. He didn't reply. The Sunday before Thanksgiving, Claire called again. I'm hosting dinner this year, she said. You and the kids are invited. Bill, and I want to make sure Emma and Tyler know they're still loved by both sides of the family. What about Lindsay? She's invited too, but she said she's bringing someone. Caleb closed his eyes. Okay, you don't have to come if. I'll be there. The kids deserve to see their grandparents. Thanksgiving Day arrived with freezing rain. Caleb dressed the kids in nice clothes and drove to Bill and Claire's house with dread settling in his stomach. Lindsay's car was already there. So was a silver Lexus he didn't recognize. Bill opened the door. They're in the living room. You don't have to talk to him. Him, the boyfriend. Apparently they're serious now. Caleb nodded. Helped the kids out of their coats. The living room felt like a stage. Lindsay sat on the couch next to the man from the photo. He looked even more polished in person. Emma and Tyler froze in the doorway. Hi, babies. Lindsay jumped up, arms open. Emma moved forward slowly. Tyler hid behind Caleb. This is David, Lindsay said brightly. Too brightly. He's a really good friend of mine. David stood, extended his hand to Caleb. I've heard a lot about you. Caleb looked at the hand, looked at David, looked at Lindsay. Then he walked past all of them into the kitchen. Claire was pulling a turkey from the oven. She glanced up, saw his face, and pointed to the back porch. Go. I'll get the kids settled. Caleb stood on the porch in the freezing rain, hands gripping the railing, breathing cold air that burned his lungs. Bill joined him, handed him a beer. I told her not to bring him. It's her choice. Stupid choice. Bill's jaw worked. Claire's ready to have it out with her. I asked her to wait until after the kids eat. What's the point? She's going to do what she wants anyway. The point is consequences. Bill's voice was hard. That girl needs to understand she doesn't get to burn everything down and still expect everyone to smile and support her new life. They stood in the rain until Claire called them in for dinner. The meal was torture. Lindsay kept trying to engage Caleb in conversation. David made awkward small talk about his work in medical equipment sales. Emma picked at her food. Tyler asked 3 times if they could go home. After dinner, while Caleb was helping with dishes, he heard raised voices from the living room. Claire's voice, sharp and unforgiving. You brought him here? On a family holiday? While your children are in the next room? Mom, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. Claire's voice could have cut glass. You cheated on your husband. You lied to everyone who asked about it. And now you're parading your affair in front of your own children like it's something to celebrate. It's not like that. Then explain it to me. Explain how this is anything other than selfish and cruel. Silence. Then Lindsay's voice, smaller now. I was unhappy. So talk to your husband. Go to counseling. Work on your marriage. You don't start a relationship with someone else while you're still married and then act like you're the victim when people judge you for it. You're supposed to support me. I'm supposed to love you. I do love you, but I don't support this. And neither does your father. Bill's voice joined in. You made your choices, Lindsay. Now you live with them. But don't expect us to pretend they were good choices. Caleb heard crying, running footsteps, the front door slamming. He walked into the living room. David was gone. So was Lindsay. Emma stood by the window, watching the silver Lexus pull out of the driveway. She left again. Yes, sweetheart. Because Grandma yelled at her? Because things are complicated. I'm glad she left, Tyler said quietly. She was making everything weird. Claire came into the room, her face tight. I'm sorry you had to hear that. Don't be, Caleb said. They needed to hear it eventually. Bill shook his head. Never thought I'd have to choose between my daughter and doing what's right. You're not choosing against her, Caleb said. You're choosing for the truth. There's a difference. They stayed for another hour. Emma and Tyler played with their cousins, Nicole's kids, who were visiting for the holiday. The adults drank coffee and talked about everything except what had just happened. On the drive home, Emma said, Dad, are you sad? Sometimes. About Mom. About how things turned out. But not about having you and your brother. Never about that. Grandma was really mad. Grandma loves your mom. But sometimes loving someone means not accepting their bad choices. Tyler spoke up from the back seat. What's going to happen now? Caleb glanced in the rearview mirror. We're going to keep living. Keep going to school. Keep having dinner with Grandma and Grandpa. Keep being a family. Without Mom. Your mom will always be your mom. But she might not be around as much as before. Is that sad or okay? Caleb thought about the question. Really thought about it. It's both, he finally said. And that's allowed. December arrived with the kind of cold that made bones ache. Caleb picked up extra shifts at work, both for the money and the distraction. His boss had been understanding about the situation. Let him adjust his hours to match the kid's school schedule. Didn't ask too many questions when he showed up early or stayed late. The divorce proceedings moved forward with the speed of bureaucracy. Papers filed. Responses submitted. Patricia kept him updated in terse emails that read like battle reports. Lindsay's lawyer was pushing for equal custody and substantial alimony. Patricia was countering with documentation of abandonment, evidence of infidelity, and arguments about child welfare. She left the family home voluntarily. Patricia explained during a phone call. She's been living with her sister for 6 weeks. She sees the kids maybe twice a week, usually for a few hours. Meanwhile, you've maintained stability. Same house, same school, same routine. A judge will notice that. What about the money? South Carolina uses equitable distribution, not equal. Given your documentation of separate assets and the protections you built in during the refinancing, you're in a strong position. She'll get something, but nowhere near what she's asking for. How much is she asking for? Patricia was quiet for a moment. She wants 60% of marital assets, full college fund access, and $1,800 a month in spousal support. Caleb felt his grip tighten on the phone. Based on what? Based on the argument that she sacrificed her career to raise your children and deserves compensation for that sacrifice. She worked part-time for 2 years, then chose to stay home. We both agreed it made financial sense. I know, and we'll argue exactly that. But Caleb, you need to prepare yourself. This is going to get ugly. It got uglier than he expected. Emma came home from a weekend visit with Lindsay in early December, looking troubled. She waited until Tyler was in bed before knocking on Caleb's door. Can we talk? He set aside his laptop. Always. She sat on the edge of his bed, picking at her fingernails. Mom said something weird. What did she say? She asked if you were keeping me from visiting her more. She said she wants to see me all the time, but you won't let her. Caleb felt anger surge hot and immediate in his chest. He breathed through it. What did you tell her? I said that's not true, that you always let us go when she asks. But Dad, Emma looked up, her eyes uncertain. She cried, like a lot. She said she's the one being punished, even though she didn't do anything wrong. Emma, listen to me. Caleb shifted to face her directly. Your mom is dealing with a lot of emotions right now. Sometimes grown-ups say things that aren't completely true when they're hurt or scared. I have never kept you from seeing your mother. If she wants more time with you and Tyler, all she has to do is ask. But she makes it sound like you're the bad guy. I know, that's not fair. No, it's not. But that's between me and your mom. Your job is just to be honest about what you see and what you know. Can you do that? Emma nodded, but the worry didn't leave her face. 2 days later, Lindsay called. Her voice was tight with barely controlled rage. How dare you turn my daughter against me? Caleb was at his desk at work. He closed his office door. I haven't turned anyone against you. Emma told me she wants to stay with you, that she doesn't want to come to Nicole's anymore because it's weird there. You coach her to say that. I didn't coach her to say anything. But if she feels weird at Nicole's, maybe you should ask yourself why. Because you've poisoned her. Or because you brought your boyfriend to Thanksgiving dinner and then left when your parents called you out on it. Or because you see the kids twice a week and spend most of that time on your phone. Or because Emma's 9 years old and smart enough to see what's happening without anyone coaching her. You have no right. I have every right. I'm their father. I'm the one who gets them ready for school and helps with homework and tucks them in at night. You made choices, Lindsay. These are the consequences. She was crying now. I just wanted to be happy. Then be happy. But don't expect everyone else to pretend your happiness didn't come at their expense. He hung up before she could respond. Patricia called that afternoon. I just got a very interesting letter from Lindsay's attorney. She's dropping the request for 60% of assets. Why? Because I sent them a breakdown of your documented timeline, the protected assets, and testimony from her own parents about the situation. Her lawyer took one look and told her she doesn't have a case. Caleb leaned back in his chair. What's she asking for now? Standard 50-50 split of actual marital assets, which given your protections means she gets maybe 30% of total value. $1,200 a month in support for 3 years. Primary custody with you. Standard visitation for her. That's reasonable. It's a retreat. She knows she overplayed her hand. Patricia paused. But there's one more thing. She wants a final family meeting. All parents present. She says she wants to clear the air before the divorce is finalized. Absolutely not. I told her lawyer the same thing. But Caleb, her parents are asking for it too. They'll call me directly. He thinks it might help provide closure. Caleb thought about Bill standing in the garage, handing back the phone with a photo. Thought about Claire in the coffee shop, apologizing for her daughter's choices. Fine, he said. One meeting. But it's at my house. My territory. The meeting was scheduled for the following Saturday at 2 o'clock. Caleb cleaned the house with the kind of nervous energy that needed an outlet. He sent the kids to his parents' place for the afternoon. Bill and Claire arrived first, then Lindsay with Nicole. Finally, his own parents who insisted on being there for support. They sat in the living room like opposing forces, Caleb and his parents on one side, Lindsay and hers on the other. Nicole perched awkwardly between them. Lindsay spoke first. Her eyes were red, but her voice was steady. I wanted everyone here because I need you all to understand something. I'm not a bad person. No one responded. I made mistakes. I know that. But I was drowning in this life, in this town, in this marriage. I needed space to figure out who I was outside of being someone's wife and someone's mother. You could have asked for that space, Caleb said quietly, instead of lying about it. I know, and I'm sorry for lying. But Caleb, you have to admit, our marriage has been broken for years. No, our marriage was fine until you decided you wanted something else. Fine. Lindsay's voice rose. Fine is not the same as happy. Fine is not the same as fulfilled. Then you should have said something. We could have gone to counseling. We could have talked. We could have tried. Would it have made a difference? We'll never know, will we? Because you didn't give us that chance. Claire spoke up. Lindsay, honey, no one's saying you're a bad person, but you hurt people, and you can't just apologize and expect everything to go back to how it was. I don't expect that. Lindsay wiped her eyes. I just want us to be able to co-parent without all this anger. Bill leaned forward. Then start by accepting responsibility. Not just saying I made mistakes, but actually acknowledging what you did and why it was wrong. I already said I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't mean much if you don't understand what you're sorry for, Caleb's father said. He rarely spoke in these situations, but when he did, people listened. You had an affair. You lied to your husband and your family. You tried to rewrite the story to make yourself the victim. And when people called you out, you played the wounded party. Lindsay stood up. I don't have to sit here and be attacked. Then leave, Caleb said. But understand this. Emma and Tyler are old enough to remember. They're old enough to see who shows up and who doesn't. Who keeps their promises and who breaks them. You want to be part of their lives? Actually be part of their lives. Not when it's convenient. Not when David's busy. Actually show up. David has nothing to do with this. David has everything to do with this. He's the reason we're here. No. Caleb's mother's voice was gentle but firm. You're the reason we're here, Lindsay. The choices you made. The lies you told. Own that. The room fell silent. Lindsay looked around at all of them. Her parents, Caleb's parents, Nicole, Caleb himself. Looking for an ally. Finding none. If we divorce, she said quietly, I deserve stability. There was that word again. Caleb stood up, walked to where she was standing, looked her in the eye. You don't just get to leave. Leave all of us. Build a whole new life with someone else while still being supported by the family you abandoned. That's not how consequences work. The courts will. The courts will give you exactly what's fair, which is a lot less than you were hoping for. He took a step back. You want stability? Build it yourself, like the rest of us have to. Lindsay's face crumpled. She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. Nicole followed her out. The four parents sat in silence for a long moment. Claire spoke first. I'm so sorry, Caleb. You don't have to apologize for her. Someone should. She stood, gathering her coat. Bill and I have been talking. Whatever happens with the divorce, we want you to know you're still family. Those kids are our grandchildren. We're not going anywhere. Bill nodded. Christmas Eve at our place. You and the kids. No David. No drama. Just family. After they left, Caleb's mother made coffee. His father sat at the kitchen table, quiet and thoughtful. You handled that well, his father finally said. Didn't feel like handling anything. Felt like survival. Same thing sometimes. His mother set coffee mugs on the table. The kids are lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have them. She squeezed his shoulder. You're going to be okay. All of you. Caleb wanted to believe her. Some days he did. The divorce was finalized 3 weeks before Christmas. Caleb sat in Patricia's office, signing papers that ended 11 years of marriage. You sure about this? Patricia asked. Once these are filed, it's done. I'm sure. She handed him the final documents. For what it's worth, you did everything right. Protected yourself, documented everything, stayed focused on the kids. I wish all my clients were this prepared. I just paid attention to what mattered. That's rarer than you'd think. Caleb left her office and sat in his truck for a long time, staring at the papers in his hands. He felt empty, not sad, not relieved, just empty. His phone buzzed. Emma, Dad, can we make cookies tonight? Caleb, absolutely. What kind? Emma, the ones Grandma makes. With the chocolate chips. Caleb, done. See you after school. He started the truck and drove home, past the Copper Fort Diner where this had all started. past the turnoff to Lindsay's sister's place, past all the markers of a life he didn't live anymore. The house was quiet when he arrived. He walked through the rooms, noticing things he'd stopped seeing. The photos on the wall, half of them needed to be taken down. Lindsay's decorating touches everywhere, her absence making itself known in small ways. He spent the afternoon removing photos, packing away reminders, making space for what came next. When the kids got home, Emma dropped her backpack and headed straight for the kitchen. Ready to make cookies? Let me find Grandma's recipe. Tyler appeared in the doorway. Can I lick the spoon? We'll see. They made cookies together, the kitchen filling with the smell of chocolate and vanilla. Emma carefully measured ingredients, while Tyler ate probably more chocolate chips than made it into the dough. Normal. Routine. The kind of moments that build a life. That night, after the kids were in bed and the kitchen was cleaned, Caleb sat on the back porch despite the cold. He thought about the photo he'd taken 2 months ago, about the moment he'd decided to document instead of react. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Unknown. This is David. I think we should talk. Caleb stared at the message, deleted it without responding. Some conversations weren't worth having. Christmas came with snow, rare for South Carolina. Emma and Tyler were ecstatic, building a lopsided snowman in the front yard while Caleb watched from the window. Christmas Eve at Bill and Claire's was quieter than usual. Nicole came alone. Lindsay didn't show. She said she had plans with David's family. Claire said, her voice tight. I told her the kids would be disappointed. What did she say? Caleb asked. That you've had them all month. That she deserves to have her own life. Emma overheard. She didn't say anything, just went back to playing with Tyler. But Caleb saw her face. Saw the moment another small piece of trust broke. Later, when they were alone wrapping presents, Bill said, I keep thinking I should have seen it coming. Should have known she was capable of this. You can't predict when someone decides to become someone else. She wasn't always like this. When she was young, she was kind, thoughtful. Maybe she still is sometimes, just not to us anymore. Bill looked at him. You're more generous than I'd be. Not generous, just realistic. She made her choice. I'm making mine. The kids will make theirs when they're old enough. And what's your choice? To keep showing up, to keep being the steady thing in their lives, to never make them choose sides or carry adult burdens. Caleb wrapped a doll in bright paper, to be the parent they can count on. That's a good choice. New Year's Eve arrived cold and clear. Caleb took the kids to his parents' house for a low-key celebration. They watched movies, ate too much junk food, and counted down to midnight with sparkling cider. At 12:01, his phone rang. Lindsay. He let it go to voicemail. She called again at 12:15, then 12:30. Finally, she texted, Lindsay, I know you're awake. We need to talk about the kids. About custody. About everything. Caleb, the custody agreement is signed. If you want changes, go through your lawyer. Lindsay, I'm their mother. Caleb, then act like it. He turned off his phone. January came with a kind of quiet that Caleb was learning to appreciate. The kids settled into new routines. Emma joined a basketball team. Tyler started guitar lessons. Life continued. Lindsay saw them every other weekend, per the agreement. Sometimes she picked them up on time. Sometimes she was late. Sometimes she rescheduled at the last minute. The kids stopped asking why. One Saturday in late January, Caleb was cleaning out the garage when Emma came looking for him. Dad, can I ask you something? Sure, sweetheart. Do you think Mom will ever come back? Caleb set down the box he was holding. Back to this house? No. She has a different life now. That's not what I mean. Emma struggled to find words. I mean, will she ever be like she used to be? Like when I was little? I don't know. People change. Sometimes they change back. Sometimes they don't. Do you miss her? I miss who she was. Or who I thought she was. But the person she is now? No. Emma nodded slowly. I don't miss her either. Is that bad? Caleb pulled her into a hug. It's honest. And honesty's never bad. That night, after the kids were asleep, Caleb opened his laptop, looked at the documentation folder he'd been maintaining for 4 months. Hundreds of entries, thousands of words, a complete record of a marriage ending. He created a new folder, labeled it Moving Forward, started a new document. January 29th, Emma asked if I miss Lindsay. First time either kid has asked directly. Answer: I miss the person I thought I married. Don't miss the person she became. Resolution: stop documenting the past. Start building the future. He closed the laptop. Went to check on the kids one more time. Emma sleeping peacefully, Tyler sprawled across his bed like always. These were the moments that mattered. The quiet ones. The ordinary ones. The ones where he was present. Steady. Unwavering. The ones where he kept being the man they needed him to be. February brought warmer weather and a text from Lindsay's lawyer. Attorney. Client wishes to discuss modification of support agreement. Requesting meeting at your earliest convenience. Caleb forwarded it to Patricia. She called within the hour. She wants to reduce the support you're paying. I'm paying her $1,200 a month. Why would she want to reduce it? Because David's income is substantial and she's living with him now. If she reports that she's cohabitating with someone who provides financial support, it impacts the calculation. So she's choosing him over the money. Looks that way. Good, Caleb said. Tell her lawyer we accept the modification. The support dropped to $600 a month. Caleb put the difference into college funds for the kids. March came with spring rain and Emma's 10th birthday. She wanted a party at the skating rink. Caleb invited school friends, his parents, Bill, and Claire. Lindsay showed up with David. Emma skated over to Caleb. Did you know she was bringing him? No. Can you tell her to leave? It's your birthday, sweetheart. What do you want? Emma looked at Lindsay and David standing awkwardly by the snack bar. Then she looked at her friends skating in circles, laughing. I want to pretend she's not here. Then that's what we'll do. They skated, ate pizza, sang happy birthday. Lindsay tried to join in, but Emma kept her distance. Not rudely, just distant. When it was time to open presents, Emma thanked everyone except Lindsay and David. The slight was subtle enough to miss if you weren't paying attention. Caleb was paying attention. After the party, Bill pulled him aside. Emma's protecting herself. I know, that's your influence. Or it's self-preservation. She's smart enough to know who's reliable. Lindsay's going to blame you. Lindsay blames me for everything. What else is new? Bill smiled grimly. Nothing, I suppose. April brought the 1-year anniversary of when Caleb first started noticing something was wrong. He didn't mark it, didn't think about it deliberately. But at night, lying in bed, he thought about the man he'd been a year ago. The one who trusted, who assumed the best, who didn't check his wife's story because why would he need to? That man was gone, not dead, just transformed into someone harder, someone who paid attention, someone who protected what mattered and didn't apologize for drawing lines. He missed the innocence of that old version of himself, but he wouldn't go back to being him for anything. They came with end-of-school activities. Emma's basketball championship, Tyler's guitar recital, normal parent things that Caleb showed up for every time. Lindsay made it to half. The kids stopped asking where she was. One night in late May, Caleb sat on the porch with a beer in his phone. On impulse, he opened his messages, scrolled back to October. The photo from the copper fork was still there. He looked at it for a long time. Then he deleted it, deleted the whole conversation thread. He didn't need it anymore. The divorce was final. The custody was settled. The kids were adjusting. The past could stay in the past. His phone buzzed. Bill, barbecue tomorrow. You and the kids. Claire's making her potato salad. Caleb, we'll be there. Bill, good. Family's important. Caleb, yes it is. Caleb set down his phone, looked out at the yard where Emma and Tyler had built that snowman months ago, where they played catch on summer evenings, where life happened in small, ordinary moments that added up to everything. He thought about Lindsay sometimes, wondered if she was happy with David, wondered if she regretted her choices, wondered if she missed the life she'd had. Then he stopped wondering, because it didn't matter. She'd made her choices. He'd made his. The kids would make theirs. And he would be here, steady, present, unwavering, for whatever came next. Inside the house, he heard Emma laugh at something Tyler said, heard their footsteps running upstairs, heard the sounds of his children living their lives. He finished his beer, went inside, locked the door. Tomorrow was Sunday. They'd go to Bill and Claire's for barbecue. Monday was a teacher workday, so he'd taken off work to take the kids to the lake. Small moments, building toward something bigger, building toward a life that wasn't defined by what he'd lost, but by what he'd kept. His integrity, his truth, his unwavering presence in his children's lives. Lindsay had crossed the line. He'd held his ground. And in the end, that was enough. Not because he'd won. There were no winners in divorce. But because he'd refused to become someone he wasn't. Because he'd chosen truth over comfort. Because he'd shown his children what it looked like to have standards and keep them. That night, he slept without wondering who was lying. Without checking phones, or documenting conversations, or building case files. Just slept. And that, more than anything, felt like moving forward.